Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to One Man's Balance Foundation series videos. This is number 2 in the video series. Last time we talked about vision, creating a vision for life, and the exercise was to spend 10 minutes thinking about what that looks like. Fast forwarding to being 80, 90 years old and looking back on your life and thinking about what are the key milestones, what are the 5 key milestones that you would have needed to hit to realize that place. Thinking about what your life would have been like up to that point, what your life is like now, what are some of the things you enjoy, what's your contribution, what has been your growth through that areas, and then think about again those 5 key milestones. Right, so I hope you did your homework. I'm sure you did, otherwise you wouldn't be listening now. All right, and today is about goals. Because once you have your vision, when they can then start thinking about some goals that are a bit closer to us. And oftentimes, and which is funny, in interviews people ask questions on where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years? And it's difficult because who knows? Right? You can have an overall vision of where you want to get to, but how you get there tends to look different. Right? It tends to look different based on the choices that we make immediately, based on really what things are in front of us, right? So you can think about what you might look like over 3 to 5 years, but in my experience, what's been more effective is to think a bit shorter term. To think about, okay, well, what does this year look like? Right? And we're still fairly early on in the year, so it's still a good time to think about what does 2019 look like? And you should think about it based on that vision overall. Okay, so here is our farthest thing away. It's our vision, it's what we really want for our lives. And right down to the point of where the rubber meets the road, what do I do tomorrow? What do I do this week to get to my vision? Right, and that's the exercise. It's thinking about creating a thread. Think about the top being right up here and thinking about all the way right down to the floor where the rubber meets the road and you actually take action in your everyday life, right? To create a thread from that point that's tied all the way through the different areas. And what might those different areas look like? Okay, so you think about it from a hierarchical point of view. You've got your vision, and then you need to think about the areas within your life. Okay. Generically, we tend to think about our physical body, we tend to think about our family and relationships, we tend to think about our spiritual self, whatever that might mean to you. Think about our finances, and think about our career, right? And those areas are the general areas. So that's what we're going to kind of stick to, right? But feel free to think about creating other more bespoke types of categories in your life. And then once you've thought about those categories, you just start thinking about, well, what ones are most important, right? And this is getting your whole life out there, right? My life as a whole, what's my vision? What are the areas of my life? And then once you've defined what those areas are, you start to think about what goals, right? And there's much more depth of work you can get on here, but in terms of impact and moving forward, we're going to stick to focusing on these goals here. And think about what are the top 3 areas that are most important for me to work on this year. Right, maybe last year it was all about your body. Maybe it was last year you spent a lot of time in the gym. Maybe you set yourself a goal to run a marathon. Maybe you did a crazy Ironman or something else, right? Whatever it was, the CrossFit King of the world or something. Whatever it was, it doesn't matter. Maybe last year that was what you're focused on. Maybe this year you still want to make sure that that's the case. You still want to make sure you're taking action on your body because that's important. But maybe you don't want to put it right at the top of the list. So maybe your goal is more of something that keeps you ticking over, right? It's more of a maintenance goal. That's okay, right? Because it's the intention of what it sets out as. Right, so we'll put that to one side, let's say that's the case. And let's say this year that your goal is finances. And finances in the fact of getting yourself in order, knowing where you are, knowing what investments you have, knowing what debts you have, knowing exactly where you are overall. So that's your goal in your finance area, right? And perhaps you decide that's your number 1 thing, right? So we set that out, right? And then thinking about the different areas of your life, okay? So maybe it's finances, maybe it's relationships second. And define what that looks like over the whole year. So I want to get to, by the end of 2019, where? Where do you want to get to in those 2 areas? And think about when you're setting out the goals to make them as specific as possible. The more clear that we have our goals, the more our mind knows, it understands what it is. And the more that we can write that down, repeat it to ourselves, the more that our brain knows that that's where we're heading. Our brain doesn't really know the difference between what we tell it and what's actually real. Because what actually is real is what we tell it. So make sure you're feeding your mind the right things where you want to go. So that's where we start, right? So setting out those goals. So 2 or 3 areas, right? In those examples, we talked about finance, we talked about relationships. Be very specific in what those goals are. And oftentimes people think about, all right, I really want to do something to take my health forward here. I'm going to lose 20 pounds and I'm going to weigh 182 pounds by the end of the year. Great, all right? End of the year, not really specific enough. Let's think about a date. Okay, 1st of December. Okay, great. Number of pounds. Okay, 20 pounds. Okay, well, where do you want to be? 182 pounds. Okay, right, we're getting specific. That's good. But let's add more to it, right? Let's make it exciting. Right, let's do something that when we look at it, it makes us go, yeah, that's what I really want. That's who I really am, right? And have some fun with it, right? Because that's what really it's all about in the first place. Have some fun with what your goals are. Set them out in a manner that excites you. And just go and get it, right? So just to recap, okay, so think about goals, right? You have your vision overall. You have the areas of your life, whatever that might look like to you. That could be finances, that could be relationships, that could be spiritual side, that could be your physical body, could be your emotions, you could have that separately. And you have your finances, your career, right? I think I've got finances twice. Either way, as you lay that out, you think about which of those areas are most important to you. Maybe you pick 3, right? Pick 3 areas, right? Finances, relationships, and your spiritual side. And then define what good looks like. Define where you want to be by the end of this year and be specific with the dates. Specific is the keyest thing here. And creation. Right? Things are created twice, once in our mind and once when we actually put them down on paper or say them out loud. There's something magical about writing something down, hasn't it? Have you found that? Have you ever found that once you write something down, it just takes on a whole new meaning? Once you put it out there, commit to yourself and make it real, even on paper. And even if no one else sees it, it does something, it goes to a different part of your mind. So put it on paper. And then once you have these 3 goals, great job, celebrate, very important. And then once you have these 3 for the year, start to break them down into more bite-sized chunks. Right? We're in February right now. Still a great time to set out some goals and be more specific. What do you want to achieve by the end of quarter 1, so the end of March? What do you want to achieve by the end of quarter 2 and quarter 3? And if breaking them up into quarters feels a bit work-ish, a bit corporate to you, it's fine. Let's change it. Let's just make it months. Pick a date that makes sense and go for it. Right. Again, to recap, set out the areas of your life that are most important. Define 3 areas you want to set goals for this year and set the goals. Be super specific on what those year goals look like. And so you end up with 3-year goals. And then within those 3-year goals, break them down into bite-sized chunks. Quarters make sense. So what you'll end up with is 3 goals plus 3 quarter goals for each one of those goals. And you can see how we're really taking that thread from the top and coming it all the way down. Right. So right now we've got a vision. We're 90 years old up here. We've gone all the way down to year, and now we've gone down to quarter, maybe even month. And once you have those quarterly goals, so you'll have 3 times 4 quarterly goals, so 12 goals. Out of those 3, define what are the most important ones. Right, you should be able to figure out exactly what they are based on your year goals, but again, it's a great time to recap and just reconfirm for yourself what's most important. And then once you have your top 3 quarterly goals, now we're getting to business, right? Now we're getting down to where the rubber meets the road. And here is the challenge, right? When you've got your top 3 quarterly goals, you need to think about a plan. Think about a plan and associating yourself with why they're important to you. So take those 3 quarterly goals and really think about what that's going to mean. Make sure you always link it back to that vision, because the vision is what's going to drive you. The vision is what's going to drive you. You need to know that when you wake up on a Monday morning, you're feeling a bit stiff, and maybe you don't do your rituals, and you're not feeling great, and you look at your goals, and your goals look like a task list. And the task list says, write an email. The task list says, call Brian. These aren't things that are going to inspire you. If you're not feeling in the right place, in the right frame of mind, and that'll be some other videos, then you're not going to follow through. You need to make sure you associate with the reason why you want to do this in the first place. Having that vision is a great place to start. Always knowing why it's important for you. Because if you don't do that, you're not going to take action. And if you don't take action, nothing's going to happen. I know it sounds simple, right? But most people don't do this. Most people don't do this. And all the time I'm reminding myself on my journey, right? The worst thing to do is nothing. Because if you do nothing, you're staying where you are, right? You're going to learn from whatever you do, you move forward, but you only do that when you actually do move forward. Taking action is the important part. It doesn't matter what it is, right? So you're going to end up with those three-month goals, the ones that are most important for you, and then you're going to design a plan of what that looks like, plan of attack, what that looks like. And there's many ways of getting to your goals, right? There's many ways of getting to, in that example, losing those 20 pounds over the years, but you're going to break it down into quarterly bite-sized chunks. And that plan you're going to have is just going to be a whole chunk of things you could do to get to your goal. Not things you have to do, but just things you could do to get to your goal. You still with me? I gotcha. All right, so here it is. Quick recap. You've got your vision. Great job. Celebrate. Woohoo. You've got your 3 yearly goals because you define what areas are most important to you. And from those 3 yearly goals, you're going to define all of the quarterly breakdowns of those goals. And then you're going to take the top 3 of that quarterly breakdown and you're going to design plans for each one of those. And the immediate thing you need to do is create that. Get it down on paper. And then associate it with yourself every day. Why it's most important. Why that's most important. And remember, as human beings, we can do anything. I really believe that. You have to take action and move yourself forward. Thanks everyone for listening. Feedback always welcome. It's a gift. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.